Okay, this is Jimmy Job, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest is someone that I wanted to have on the show since the beginning. Everybody that knows anything about Detroit hard rock, heavy metal, whatever, knows this man. Knows his playing, knows his style, and knows his band. They are totally legendary. Everything they've ever put out is just phenomenal. Anyway, my guest today, like I say, is legendary Detroit guitarist David Black. How you doing, buddy?
Real good, Jimmy. How are you? Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate the kind word. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a pleasure to have you. I'd like to start out with a little background if we can. Can you tell me a
Okay.
little bit about where you grew up and basically what drew you to playing the guitar?
Well, I grew up in Warren. I started playing guitar when I was like 7 because the guy down the street had a band. I used to we'd all lay on the grass and look in his basement window and watch him rehearse. So I saved up cutting lawns and crap, and he started giving me guitar lessons, and it just went on from there, dude. All
Right.
this is an offshoot from that. It's funny because, yeah, dude, I love playing guitar first. All the rest of that is that. But I love playing guitar first and foremost. That's my thing. I moved from Warren to Walled Lake, which was weird because nobody played in Walled Lake. So I had a pile of Cream magazines and Circus magazines and some records and a guitar. I'd sit around, listen to songs and figure them out and try and meet people that could play a little bit, and you do shitty hall parties and break up after 2 gigs. And whatever,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the way early end of it. That was right before I met Mickey.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I got out of school when I was 17, so I was really young. You know
Right.
what I mean? When I met Mickey, actually, I thought I was hanging out with a buddy of mine, and I threw a stack in the back of his van. He went to go visit some friends of his, so I set it up in the driveway and just started blasting it, just for the fuck of it. 'Cause I
Right.
like it. There's 2 dudes standing at the fence. One of them was Mickey St. Clair. One of them was Mark Fennell. Yeah, so that's how I met those guys. Me and Mickey were friends, and his mom lived close by, and like all the kids from the neighborhood would show up over there. We listen to records and hang out. What up, dude? You know what I mean? It was just, I don't know, man. That was the beginning of it. I really didn't have. It was not like it was really hard to get like into something that was playing. You know what I mean? Or like
Right.
steady. And I really wanted to be in a band. It was just really hard to put all the pieces together.
What possessed you to, like you said, set up in the driveway and just start jamming? Because, like I say, both Mark and Mickey have told me that story so many times. They're like,
Thinking about it before I talk to you, how all this even started, because I haven't thought about all this stuff in a
Right.
long time, Yeah, and it went on from there, just because I love playing guitar, dude. Yeah, great. I'll give you a good one, dude.
Sure.
I went to 12 Oaks Mall once in the same van with the same stack in the back, and it was nighttime, and I'm like, man, let's stop and plug this thing into the parking lot of the mall, man. It's just it'd be great, dude. So we pull around the back, and there's an outlet there. So I yank the head out of the van, and I plug it in, hit the switch, it lights up. So I throw it all together, just crank the shit out of it. I'm just going wild, dude. All of a sudden, the metal doors come flying open, and all these security dudes come out. And I didn't realize that I'd set up my shit against the back wall of the movie theater.
Oh, no.
Everyone was in there watching a movie, dude, and they were pissed. They're like, "Set this shit up and get the fuck out of here, or we're calling the cops," I was about 16,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just do crazy shit like this because I was trying to find a way to let it out, man. You know what I mean? It's not like, there's different avenues now, but I was trying to find a way to let it out,
Right.
And it was really, really hard. Looking back on it, I can't even believe all of that happened. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
Seriously, starting from that point there, looking to where all that got, I'm just like, damn, dude, that's quite a ride,
Yeah, no shit.
Looking from Walled Lake to Hollywood, yeah, sure, that's a fucking ride, man.
No
I tell you.
doubt. Who would have been, as far as like you say, you're picking up the guitar at 7, taking lessons from this guy down the street. Who would have been probably on the national scene your biggest influence on guitar? What artist, inspired your playing the most?
Coming up back then, dude, the Holy Trinity, dude, Sabbath, Zeppelin, Purple. That was it. Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, all day long.
Right.
Yeah, because those were like encyclopedias of knowledge, you know what I mean? If you look at music now, because of the age that I am, when those records came out, they were like kind of the foundation for everything that we got now. Half of them are still out there, bro. That's what blows my mind, dude. It's like, God, but because when we were coming up, bands didn't last that long. Some of them would just fall to the side, you know. But now you got guys on tour and they're 70. You know what I mean?
I
It's like,
know.
you know, it's different now. It wasn't like that before.
So you're doing these things to kind of get it out because you wanted to, like you say, you wanted to get into a band. You really wanted to get that. Who were some of the first bands? Mickey had mentioned something about you guys playing together in a band called Flying.
That was like one of them hall party bands I was talking to you about.
Was that
Yep.
pretty much one of the early bands you thinking
Oh
about?
yeah, dude, that was like way early on, like school days. You know what I mean? Yeah, I played a battle of bands with those guys, and we won. That was like one of the greatest days of my 16-year-old life. Won a battle of fucking bands outside at Orchard Lake Community College. I was so proud, dude. It was great, dude. Just that's when shit meant something. When you're young and you want it and you don't know what it is, you don't know what you want, but it seems like it's coming.
And you worked your ass off to get it, so you know you deserved it. Let's talk a little bit about. I'm sure there might have been a few other bands in between Flying and the next band I wanted to discuss. I believe this is where you first played with Mark Anders. Tell me a little bit how you met Mark and the development of Danes. From what I understand, that was the foundation.
Honestly, man, you know, you're kind of getting it the way I remember it. It's not. I don't have like photographic
No,
memory or
I
anything
get
like
you.
that. If I say anything or anything that anybody knows about all this, it's like, oh, it wasn't like that. It's just because I'm dumb and I don't remember it perfect. Yeah, dude. Okay, right on. You know, I love everybody from back then. I got nothing against anybody from back then. But me and Mickey were playing together, trying to find a bass player, going through different bass players, trying, you know, just fucking with it, trying to improve ourselves as musicians and like listening to different things. And but we didn't have a lot of options, so I used to hang out at a music store called Rock City on Woodward. I put a card up looking for a bass player that was probably, you could say I exaggerated a little bit, but it was good enough to catch Mark Andrews' attention. And he called and he wanted to come by. So we're rehearsing upstairs in Mickey's bedroom, and Mark shows up. And Mark was a pro. At that point, Mark was a pro. Boy, I'll never forget this, dude. Fitted black pants, white pointed shoes, and he had on like a vest with pearl buttons and a three-quarter length leather jacket. He had two Travis Bean basses and an SVT. And it was just like he just had it down. He looked like a rock star, dude. Everything, you know, he just had it already. You know what I mean? And me and Mickey, you know, I mean, we were just kids trying to figure it out. So Mark came by and he played, and I think he learned a couple songs and came back by again, and we played again. And then I got the call that Mark wasn't going to join our band, and it's like, well, fuck, dude, I knew that wasn't going to happen. But he says, I got another band that I play in, and we're looking for a second guitar player. Was like to come out and take a look. Packed up my shit, went out and played. It all kind of, there's like kind of a blurry patch here.
Right.
Because I kind of left school like halfway through my senior year. I met Mark White at the same time, so I was out of school, out of Walled Lake, and living with Mark in a band house down in the hood. You know what I mean? And it was just like, wow, there's a change of life. I was still a young guy, and I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and now I'm living with all these dudes, and now they all know how to play. They're all in their 20s. They've all been in bands and shit, and I really don't know anything, you know. And Mark, and there's another guitar player, Terry Myers, and Flaky, and John, the drummer. He was from Oklahoma. They kind of taught me the ropes or whatever. And the next year, I was 18 and playing the 24 karat Silverbird and stuff with those guys. You know, that's how I remember it.
Right.
That was my first band where you had sets and everybody was doing that, you know, professional band, working band. You know what I mean? You know, it wasn't just like, you know, you got one singer for half your set and another singer for the other half your set, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, and it was like, it really upped my game playing with those guys because they knew a lot already and they just passed what they knew along on me. So we did the Dame thing for like a while, and then that fell apart, and then I didn't know what was going to happen. You know what I mean? So, you know, me and Mark decided we wanted to stick together. We were going to put something together. We joined a cover band, played with that for about a year, just because that was back in the days when you had to have your own light show and your own PA and all that crap. So
Was it you talking about Sparks?
yeah, Sparks, correct. That was like kind of what we did to get from point A to point B, I guess you'd say. We kind of had, you know, I don't know, dude. Those were the good times, man, because we all lived in the same house, and it was
Right.
just like sitting in Mark's room with like a yellow legal pad, figuring out what we wanted to look like, what we wanted to sound like, and we were all just young guys, dude.
But
It's
you
just
had
like,
a plan, and a lot of bands didn't. So you were
you
ahead of the
know,
game right there because you're already planning it out.
I think you just said it better than I could ever put it. That was our whole game, bro,
Right.
right there, what you just said.
Now, in Dave, before we get too far ahead, was that strictly a cover band, or did you guys do any original material back then?
No, strictly, dude, that was back in the day when
Right.
you didn't
You
play
had,
originals.
right.
It
You
was
had to play
three,
all
four
covers.
45s a night, three,
Yeah.
4 nights a week, like old school working band.
That's kind of what I thought.
So that's a fuck of a lot of guitar playing.
Yeah.
Just a lot coming at you, and I'm learning all these different styles and
Yeah.
things, and trying to fit in and grow up, and dude, it's just like, yeah, it was a lot coming at point in time in my life. But I thought it was great because it was everything I wanted so far. It's
Yeah.
like, well, at least I'm in a band that's cool now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
And
like,
you're out there playing a steady gig
yeah,
and all that, making a little bit of coin. As far as Sparks goes, you and Mark hooked up and got into that. How did you get Mick back into the picture? Because I know Mickey played in Spark with you guys. So how did you get Mickey into that? How did you reconnect with him?
dude, I wish I had a really great answer for that, man. We kept in touch on and off because the whole time we were working in Sparks, we were always kicking around the idea of putting something together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, all right, dude, and Mick's like, well, what's going on? And I think we got him into it to kind of get him into the program that we were trying to build that was coming up down the road.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, we were always looking down the road. We'd always go look at everybody. We would watch everybody. I would see what you were doing, and I would see what you're doing wrong. And if you were doing something right, I'd fucking steal it. And we took a whole couple years putting all that together
Right.
until we had something that we thought was in focus and what we wanted it to be. You know what I mean?
You guys played in Sparks and played quite a bit over in Canada, I understand.
Canada, sure. Yeah, there was tons of work over there. Yeah, tons of work.
And so you got Mickey back with you, Mark, Mickey, and Gwen, and was there another guitar player, or was it just you guys with her?
Yeah, there was another guitar player named Phil Hawley that I played with the time that I was in the band, and there was some other cat, I can't remember his name, that was the guy that I replaced.
Now, as the story goes, these are such great stories. You guys, like you said, you're planning all this out. You knew kind of what you wanted to get to. It was just a point of getting there. And Game and Sparks.
Or convincing ourselves it was possible, bro.
Right. Now, the story goes that Mark Fennell comes into the city, and you're playing a gig somewhere, and you guys had talked to him a little bit, and he shows up there, and he performs with you guys, with the core band, you, Mickey, and Mark. It's like it was the spark for Seduce. How did that happen, and how did you get away with that without Gwen knowing it? It was sounding like something was done on the sly. Is that correct?
It was something that was an on again, off again kind of thing. I mean, remember, we did a little bit of stuff with Carl Arthur from DVS. It's like, we were looking for something, but I don't think we knew what it was. And all we had was a crew and just an idea. That's it, man. And it's just like, it's like a Rubik's Cube.
Mm-hmm.
And you just keep clicking it until everything lines up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It took a little while, but it did eventually.
So when you guys obviously decided to branch off from that and actually start functioning as Seduce, now at that time, was that right around the time that you guys got the house over in Dearborn, Mike Miller's house, and started living there, rehearsing there? That's when you got the now?
Yeah, because I remember it's like, well, because of what we were trying to do, and the standard was like playing in a cover band.
Right.
Well, we weren't really playing that angle. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
we wanted to play our own stuff, and that wasn't. It's not like it is now. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, so that relegated us to playing Blondies, the Falcon Lounge, like, just $150 gigs, bro. We would go home and split three boxes of cereal, and everybody's good. You know what I mean? Very, very close to the bone kind of shit. But we got to do what we wanted to do. Nobody else really was at that point in time. I'll tell you what, but I'm gonna rewind it a little bit. I remember, like how I told you, I used to go and watch everybody. I used to love to go and watch Joe Gatos from Muggsy.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy's such a great guitar player. I mean,
Yeah.
if I got the chance to see him, I would go. Still a great player, dude.
Yeah.
He just had that, I don't know, Billy Gibbons thing, just down, man. He was just Mr. Taste. Anyway, I remember sitting out in the parking lot with him and Fred Schmidt, the drummer from Muggsy, and me and Mark were sitting in the car. And we were just sitting there just bullshitting. And I laid them on my idea of like, I'd like to start a band where we just had like an opening band and I played one set of originals. Fuck all this cover shit and stuff. They both turned around in the front seat and looked at me, and they both burst out laughing at the same time. But a year later, we were doing it.
It was funny you mentioned Joey Gatos because he talked about you in the interview, how you were there again pretty young at the time and used to sneak in to some of the shows.
Oh yeah, dude, I was getting into clubs at 15, 16.
Yeah.
I was going to see guys play. Yeah, because I'm kind of tall. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, back then, nobody really gave a fuck. A lot of times I would go see bands and I would take my guitar and ask them if I could sit in.
Yeah.
And they would say, sure, at the end of the set. And I would sit there all night. And I wouldn't get to play, but it was cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like I said, I wanted it that fucking bad, dude. I really did. And I didn't know why. It was just something that I just wanted to do.
The reason I brought up the whole thing about the house in Dearborn was that the story is, according to Mark, and I don't know if you remember this, you were playing over in Canada with Sparks just before it, ended or whatever. And his brother called you guys on the road. And the house that you were living in, apparently Mark had mentioned it was in Romulus, the rent was due and you guys got kicked out because you didn't have money to pay the rent. So you guys were almost pretty much living in the truck with all the gear. And that's when, Mark or yourself or somebody contacted Mike Millen and said, hey, okay, you guys can come live here.
Yeah, somehow Mike's sister was friends of the band, I think. You know what I mean? So she talked to him about it because I think, we were out playing and we were living at Gratiot, just south of 6 Mile on Gable, down by Track. And it's like we came home and there was like an eviction notice that was like we had 2 weeks to get out, but we'd been out playing, so we didn't get it. So we had like a day to bail on the house. Michael Francis Miller, man. Yes, sir.
I said I'd love to talk to him. I bet he has stories about you guys at that house.
Oh, dude, I'm sure you would get some stories, dude.
Speaking of that house, I was there a couple times with like some friends of mine that really knew you guys from, through Chuck. And I know Chuck Burns hung out there quite a bit.
That's where I met Chuck, was him coming by the Dearborn house.
Right.
Yeah, he'd bring records by and we'd sit around and listen to this or that. Or somebody would grab, remember Kerrang magazine?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, dude, we'd sit around and then we'd listen to a record and everybody would pass around the new issue of Kerrang.
You guys were on the cutting edge of all that. I mean, here you had a plan. You kind of knew what you wanted to do. It just had to work it out. And on top of that, you were getting people letting you know about this music, from like over in the UK.
Yeah, that was the stars lining up, dude. That only happens once, dude.
Here you are, another friend of mine. I was in another band with Mickey and another guy that worked with you guys over at the house, a good friend of mine from my days at Harmony House, Mr. Mark Wolf. I'm sure you remember that name.
I remember Mark Wolf. He's my Deep Purple buddy.
And he told me about, these guys would, get you guys hip to stuff. And you guys were the first ones, well, maybe not the first ones, but the first band that was actually playing stuff off of Ozzy's first solo album.
Yeah, I heard the 45 at Mickey's mom's house like 3 or 4 years before it because he had some guy from Scotland that was mailing him records.
Yeah, that's what it was. Somebody from Europe. I knew it was the UK.
Sorry, it might not have been Scotland. I could be wrong.
No, it doesn't really matter. I just knew it was somebody in Europe.
For us, like how you say the age that we were, okay, well, that was just a continuation of Sabbath. Mm-hmm. When I started seeing Richie Blackmore play with Rainbow, that was just a continuation of Deep Purple.
Yes.
Led Zeppelin, they were still going along, so it's heavy metal or whatever the fuck you want to call it in 1983 or 4 became like an art form to everybody else. To me, it was just kind of a continuation of everything that had kind of been happening. Then it happened bigger. I'll tell you the night, dude, that I saw all happen was the night that Motorhead opened for Ozzy at Masonic Temple during the first record. And it's just like, that was the night that everybody that read Kerrang magazine was there. That was the night that the whole thing became like I say, like an art form unto itself, because it was outside of the crap that they were playing on the radio.
Yeah.
Yet now, even without the internet, somehow by word of mouth, grassroots, we have all managed to land on the same page here. And I just happened to play in a band that played that kind of music. It's like, wow, ding. That's like a fucking no-brainer right there. Great place to be, and life was fucking really thrilling at that point in time, dude. When you would go to clubs and they would be packed and
Hmm.
people would be hanging out. You'd look at the pins on the lapel of their jacket and you could tell which bands they listened to. You remember all of that?
Yes,
You
I
know?
do.
Dude, that was like, dude, that's great shit.
That was
That's
how,
to me,
you're
that's
right.
the important stuff now.
Yeah, that was how you were, like you said, be able to identify people as far as their like and get introduced to
No, yeah,
different types of things. Because a lot of people, and I'm sure you know this, kind of labeled you guys as heavy metal, and I never
yeah.
really thought you were heavy metal. I just thought,
Me neither. But everybody's
hard
got to
rock,
call something something.
right? The only thing that to me that lent itself to that was when you came out with the song Headbangers. You make a video of it, you got your hair poofed big like a lot of the hair bands, you're on the beat, you're doing all that, and it's part of the look and the image. But the music wasn't that to me. The music of heavy metal to me on the Detroit scene was Halloween to me was metal. You guys were hard rock, and I was a lot more into hard rock than heavy metal at the time, because I grew up in those same bands. You mentioned Zeppelin, Sabbath. I really dug Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, and all that stuff myself.
There's another angle to that, though, too, if you want to hear about it.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, dude. Well, it's like on one side of it, to me, I grew up loving Sabbath, Purple, and Zeppelin.
Right.
But the other side of it was Bowie and T-Rex and Roxy Music and Mott the Hoople. So I've always been kind of bipolar musically. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I hate a lot of rock bands, but I listen to a lot of music that a lot of people that would think a person like me would listen to, because I like art music or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Seduce, it's like there was a point in Seduce where we wouldn't let, as music gets played in the house, that we wouldn't let anything with Marshalls be played in the house. Because it's got to be something different. It has to be, and that way you're always getting input from a different place or a different source or a different something. It wasn't just like trying to just regurgitate what everybody else happened to be doing, because now everybody is caught on to it. And as soon as British Steel by Judas Priest came out, heavy metal turned into a word. And then MTV came on, and then it turned into a product. And then, dude, it's just like, I'm like, wow, what did you do to our art form? I'll go back to that word again. You wrecked my fucking art form. You wrecked my fucking art form with your shit, because by the end of it, what were all those bands playing? Power ballads for MTV. God damn, dude, you fucked the whole thing up. Sorry to get,
no, you're
to
right,
me,
though.
but that's, when I look back, it's like, wow, man, and it just ran out, the whole thing just ran out of steam.
Yeah, that is crazy as far as that. Now, with Seduce and all that, the other thing, obviously you guys, near the end of it with Mickey and stuff were out playing constantly, doing all the covers, playing all the bars, 3-4 sets a night, as it was typical in those days. When exactly did you decide we want to write original material, and what was that original material? Do you remember any of the early songs?
Love to Hate would have been the first one, because I remember playing that riff with Mickey.
That was what I was going to say, Love to Hate.
Starlight, Starbright, I remember that was an early one. There was a lot that we, probably half the ones that I remember and know, there were probably 5 or 10 that we threw away that I can't remember the names, you know what I mean? Because we're always trying to plug it in and see which ones, since we're playing originals, which songs lined up with each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like some bands play every fucking song in A. I fucking hate that. We play the song in A, we play the song in B, we play the song in C sharp, we play the song in D, it's just like, make the set move, make it do something, make it interesting, as opposed to just what everybody else is doing.
And you guys were extremely loud too. I remember that back in the day. And all that.
That was part of it. Yeah,
just blew me away. And I knew so many bands at that time that we'd get together and talk and go, and it would all be about, what is Seduce doing now? What have they done lately? Real interesting thing about that to me was, none of us were going to try and copy your songs, your original. But we were so intrigued by that as to what covers you were still doing. Because there were very few, really, when you really got into it. Ace
the covers we'd stick in a Seduce set, you mean?
Yeah, you were like Ace
of Spades. We pull weird ones, dude. Yeah, Cochran and shit, crazy shit.
Yeah, sure. Slider. and all that. And you introduced me to T-Rex. I mean, I had heard of them because of the song Bang the Gong, which was more or less, a pop song. But when I heard you guys play Slider, I'm like, I gotta check this shit out. And that album to this day is still one of my top 10. I just love T-Rex, especially that album.
Yeah, great records, dude. Yeah, great records.
The other thing I was gonna, point out, especially when you get into the Chuck years, here you are, you're this monster of a guitar player, and it was pretty obvious your influence as far, I always thought, oh, Richie Blackmore for sure, because you had that big sound. And
Eddie Van Halen back then, lots of people. I listened to a lot of people. Like I said, I stole from everybody, bro. But yeah, the stuff that came up front was the more aggressive. Dude.
Yeah.
I always liked the aggressive guitar player. Ted Nugent, like you say,
Yeah.
I love like in-your-face kind of guitar.
From what I understood, Mark was into Alice Cooper. Kiss.
Yeah, dude. Mark was about the look and the show and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of that was, that was a lot of that angle was his.
Yeah, and you guys,
for sure.
So you incorporate that into it. And then you got Chuck, who's, kind of the kid in the middle, and he likes all the hard kind of punk stuff, which the way he played as opposed to Mickey, it totally changed the band, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Took it to a whole different level, because everybody I knew that had seen you in both ways either loved you or hated you. As far as that, it was either
that's the way it always goes.
Yeah,
man,
with any band, right? They're going, oh
yeah.
man, I like their old style, their old, with anything. And then the other thing I was going to ask you about, and I know we're jumping around a little bit. I apologize.
Yeah, I know I do too, dude. I talk really like that, dude. I'm sorry.
It's no problem, brother. So you had Fidel in the band, and you guys decided to make a change, obviously, and he departed. And then you got Johnny Rock.
For a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Johnny.
And what I understand about Johnny Rock, I don't know if anybody to this day knows if it's true. He claimed to have been the original lead singer in Def Leppard, and then he was British, yet he was from New York or something. Did that change you guys' style in any way as far as picking covers?
Dude, because it's there's 2 or 3 things going on at the same time. When we were playing with Sparks, Mark would actually sing a couple songs.
Right, I knew that, yeah.
I remember Joe Gatos being at a gig that we played at with Sparks at the Token, and he's just pointing at his nose and holding up 3 fingers, go 3-piece, dude.
Oh,
go
really?
3-piece.
Even at that time?
Yeah, way early on. So it was something we were ticking around, but it's I remember, dude, I made a list of every 3-piece band I could think of out there, and it wasn't that long.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just maybe we need a lead singer, so we'll get this Johnny guy. But then, 3-piece sounds better. No, we should have stuck with our original, and we were kind of waffling, trying to find our way, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Just we didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but we were just no one knew what it was going to be. We just kept trying it, you know what I mean? Oh, this is working, coming back to 3-piece, dude.
Mark had told me that he never actually wanted to be the lead vocalist. He didn't want to do it. Not that he couldn't, because he's a phenomenal voice. Great voice, and it really fits your material, but he didn't want to do it, at least at that time. Maybe you coaxed him into it. My question to you about that, I understand the whole idea of the 3-piece power trio, it's cool as hell. But do you think in retrospect, it may have come down to more you just couldn't find the right front man for the band? You got Van Halen with David Lee Roth. Now, you could say what you want about Roth versus Hagar.
You hit the nail right on the head. You hit the nail right on the head. I literally had record people saying, dude, I would sign you if you had a lead singer. Go find a singer and call me. Once MTV came on, everybody wanted the visual aspect of it as well. There was an image thing that went with that. 3-piece image, okay, ZZ Top, great, there was a couple out there.
Yeah, Rush.
But for some reason, everybody wanted the front man celebrity guy all the way up until Axl Rose. And then Nirvana came out, blew all that out of the water. You know what I mean? It's well, no, you can't have a 3-piece that's great. That's when it turned the corner. Mm-hmm. That's when everybody was writing their stupid fucking power ballad. And all the punk rock people got together and said, no, you don't have to have the front man. No, you don't have to do this. Right. You know what I mean? And it's just It all turned right there, and it all happened for a reason. And looking back on it now, as much as a player, man, now I'm a historian too, and a philosopher, and I look at all this shit and just go, wow, because you saw it all happen, because
Yes.
you were standing in the middle of it. You know, I'm not 20 anymore.
Right.
I got to watch the whole movie from the beginning, and now I just go, wow, that's just incredible. What, to the point of where you go see Jack White, White Stripes, you know,
Right.
it's done with Meg, and it's a two-piece, and it's just.
I know that blows my mind too. That stuff like
Yeah,
that. But
I couldn't picture that at the Silverbird, bro.
no,
You know
hell
what I mean?
no.
You know, it's all no, it's a whole, whole new thing, whole new, whole new era, whatever you want to call it, generation.
Yeah. And the reason I brought up the frontman thing were for two reasons. One was kind of, I'm not sure of the exact time frame, but there was a band in town called Madam X. Madam X had a lead vocalist who went on to some major success as a frontman with the National
Sebastian.
Sebastian Bach.
Saw him play with them guys at the Micatan or something.
Was there ever any connection or ever any possibility that you guys would have maybe tried to hook up with him at that time?
Oh, dude, I was never introduced. He kind of flew through Madam X, and then he was already on his way. You know what I mean? It's like I didn't have a chance to latch onto the guy. I remember you could do really high leg kicks, bro. I went and see him play. Yeah, dude. He went on to do great things.
Do you think he could have been something that might have fit in with Seduce?
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
It's just hard to say.
Yeah, it's impossible to say, dude.
Because I knew there was other people that had auditioned, and getting to the Power Trio thing, it obviously worked very successfully. Everybody dug it. I don't know of anybody that didn't.
Appreciate everybody that dug it, because dude, as a guitar player, and not as like we're kind of talking about too. When you have a front man and all that stuff, that's the band business bullshit image part of it. Okay,
right.
As a musician, there's nothing better than playing in a three-piece, because you either have it or you don't. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing worse than an unfull, bad-sounding three-piece. I mean, it takes a lot of work to make the song sound right, and you got to have people that know how to fucking play to do it. And I always loved playing with Mark and Chuck, because we always saw eye to eye. We were always like on the same level, like talent-wise, and like just intent-wise, and like if somebody said something, hey, play something, we got it. We communicated really well. You know what I mean? And it just worked really well. And every time we put a singer into it, it fucked that chemistry up. And we would write a handful of bad songs and be done with it. You know what I mean? And it's just like one more time, and another 6 months goes by.
Yeah, you're wasting time. Yeah.
Well, that's what it felt like. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's weird, because if you look back on those times, it's not like we had any objective. A lot of people go out and now they put this together to with the intention of getting a record deal.
Right.
You put your stuff online, you get a lawyer, you talk to some people, blah, blah, blah. Well, it really wasn't like that then. There wasn't people getting signed when Seduce was playing.
No.
We didn't do all this with the intention of somebody trying to sign it. We did it because we loved it. We wanted to do it, no offense and all due respect to everybody else, but we wanted to do it better than everybody else.
Sure.
We wanted to play a better game. We wanted to do it better than everybody else, and I was satisfied with that.
One of the things you had mentioned, though, that there again, even the people that were absolutely loved the trio and loved everything you did with that both albums, actually, we'll get to that in a second, had commented just the opposite of what you'd said, that even as a three-piece power trio, that if you had done some kind of epic power ballad, that probably would have sent you in the stratosphere. Some of the bands that you had mentioned, as far as like Zeppelin, even Sabbath doing changes, and some of these, I'm not talking about love song ballads, but something that slowed it down. I mean, your early days, you guys were covering like Wild Horses, and it was a song that meant something. Now, I'm not saying you do a cover song like that that's all acoustic. You guys weren't afraid to do anything, and the cool thing about it is you made it your own. I was into Blondie. Are you freaking kidding me? That freaking new wave crap? No way. I was into hard rock and metal, but you guys introduced me to that and made it like anything can be cool if it's done right.
Exactly.
And you guys did it, it was just so cool.
We tried. Sometimes it didn't work, bro.
Well, the greatest bands are going to have days like that and times like that.
Or I mean, like just picking a bad song to do, you know what I mean? I don't, so I tried to have a good time and play good stuff that we enjoyed playing.
Yeah, and the thing about it too, you wouldn't take the obvious stuff as far as the covers. Like most
No,
bands
never,
those days,
never.
like
Yeah,
as
never.
far as Deep Purple, everybody was going to play Smoke on the Water, and you're not doing that. You're doing a Highway Star. You know, you're not doing Rock and Roll All Night from Kiss. You're doing Detroit Rock City. And to this day, listening to that live version of you guys playing it on one of the LLC Ritz concerts, I still can't figure out how you were doing that dual lead thing with one guitar. It just blew my mind.
Smoke and mirrors, bro.
I guess. I guess. And which leads me to my next thing. You specifically, and I think Mark also, had these black guitars with the flames on them, and you had them sent out to Floyd Roy's.
Yeah, that was my flame black Flying V. Yep,
Yeah,
still got it. It's sitting right here.
What made you do that? Was that just another thing that you learned from the professional bands and said, well, if I'm going to be professional, take it to the next level, I have to have something like this? Because I didn't know anybody that had anything like that or even know about it.
Yeah, that was the first Floyd Rose around here, dude. I called Floyd Rose on the phone because that's kind of a long story, but I got his name out of Guitar Player magazine, so I called him at home, and I told him I lived in Detroit and he had a Flying V, and he was only doing strats. So he goes, okay, I guess. So I mailed it to him, and he came back, and I had a friend of mine, one of Mark's bass students, make a top for it. I just painted it because I liked, if you look on the back of Warner Brothers Presents, Denny Carmacy and Ronnie Montrose,
Yeah.
Denny Carmacy's playing a drum set with flames on it, and I'm like, I'm going to have a fucking guitar with flames on it someday.
Yeah, that's killer.
I had that guitar way before the Charvel stuff and the
Right.
Jackson stuff, and like all, you know, I did that, you know, I did it, you know, it was like kind of an homage to Eddie Van Halen. This is where the bar was. Yeah, that was my black and white stripe guitar. It's like, all right, I'll do it with a V and a Floyd Rose. You know what I mean?
And he built it or did all that apparently in his garage?
Sure, I did it in the basement at the Dearborn house.
No, I'm just saying he did it at his house. It was out in Seattle where you sent it. They said he was just doing the shit in his garage, and he was doing it for, you know, he wasn't anything at the time. You know, it was pretty new even as far as a national level. But you got hooked into it right away.
I wanted something different because you know, Flying V's, they weren't real common back then anyway.
Right.
Like now you can buy whatever you want. I actually bought that guitar from Arlen and Salem Witchcraft, if anybody remembers that. That was Arlen's old white Flying V.
Was that a Gibson V? Or
Gibson
okay.
V. Yep. No, yeah, I totally fucked it up, dude.
No,
It was, you know, it was a constant work in progress, and I like learned how to solder with that thing and everything else, dude. Yeah, but that was my guitar.
Was that motherfucker heavy as shit? When you had that, were you playing that all night long?
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad at all. No,
Because
it wasn't
Gibsons
bad at all.
were known to be real heavy. And getting into my next point, for some reason you kind of put that to the side. Because on your first album, you and Mark are both have white Flying
White
V.
Flying V's. We had a friend of ours named Tom Pellerito make those for us.
Now, were those Gibsons also?
Nope, scratch built.
Okay, now, was there something special about those as far as the electronics?
We thought it might be cool to have something that matched.
Mm-hmm. It was definitely very cool.
Oh yeah, it was okay. I don't know, you know, looking back, I don't know, dude. I don't know. We were, like I say, we were just trying different things. Some things I liked that we did, and some things it's not like I would go back and do them differently. But it's like, that was nah. You know what I mean? So
Well,
yeah.
the thing again is, like on that album, it fit perfectly. You guys, the way you guys were standing, holding it, and all that looked killer.
Yeah, totally, dude. That's why I'm talking to you, dude. It's like I don't really open this box that often. You know what I mean? You know, but it's just like, yeah, when I think back on it now, it's like, yeah, that was pretty amazing.
It was very amazing. And getting back to those white Flying V's, I talked to Mark. He still has his. Yours disappeared.
I think
off
I
the
sold
planet.
mine to my guitar tech, Sean, before I moved to California.
Well, he wasn't aware of that because he thought it got sold to Guitarist. Now I'm blanking because I'm over too from Halloween that he owned it, that he sold it to him.
Oh, could be, dude. Yeah, I don't think I sold it to him, but Sean may have.
Yeah,
No, I'm pretty sure I sold it to Sean. Yeah, he might have ended up with it, sure.
Because, you know, the mystique about that, and we're going to get to that in one more second, was that then it was thought to burn in the fire when that house burned down. Was it left behind somehow? And
Yeah, no, I don't think we had them quite then. I remember
Okay.
I had my Telecaster. And probably my Flying V, my first one when the house burned down.
Now, was any of that lost in the fire as far as your guitar?
No, they were kind of charred. I mean, the cases were kind of charred, but the guitars were okay. Yeah, it was great.
All
I
right.
lost my cast. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was a drag. Yeah, that was a really bad point of time. The band definitely took a turn at that point because now we weren't all living together anymore. We weren't all sitting around listening to records anymore.
Yeah.
We weren't all we weren't all going out together. You know, and it kind of fucked everything up. You know what I mean? I think that was definitely if you're looking at it like on a graph, yeah, that was a downline, right?
Low period.
You know, because we were still having to work and still having to play and stuff like that. But now we weren't, you know, the 10 Musketeers anymore. You know what I mean? And it really fucked everything up.
And you had a hell of a crew too. I mean, everybody, you know.
That was a family, bro.
Yeah,
it was more
family.
than a crew, dude.
Yeah.
Michael and Steve and Kenny. Yeah, dude. Lots of love to all those guys because dude, our lights looked great because they heard us rehearse every day. They knew where the solos were. Our sound sounded great because the sound man knew what the cues were. Steve, you know what I mean? It's like everybody knew what their position was and how to execute it.
And that there again sets you apart from a lot of bands. I mean, a lot as far as, I don't want to call it choreographed, but like you said, they knew what to do, and we were
trying to run it as pro level as we could.
Yes. And that leads me into another thing, and that is that out of all the bands I used to go see, the one thing I noticed about you, and I wondered if this was on purpose there again as a set of trying to be at a professional level, was you guys would play, you know, like I'd see at the Token Lounge, for example, you just disappear backstage. Now, a lot of bands at those times, you know, they do that, they chill out for a minute, they come out, hang with the fans, have a drink or whatever. You guys really didn't do that.
No, it's intentional, dude.
That's what I'm saying. Was that seeing you on stage there? You guys were bigger than life. You looked like rock stars, as close as I would have ever gotten to seeing true rock stars at the time in a small setting. And then the mystique of it.
Like, the word. I think it's Martin. I think the concept was Marky's, but you just hit the word. Yeah, that's why when we started talking a little earlier, I asked if we'd ever spoke before.
Right.
Because I don't know, and I meet people now, and I don't know if I've met them before because we used to keep everything so tight. You know what I mean? It's like, it was just us, dude. You know, and the couple friends we would let in or what, you know what I mean? The people that kind of, and it wasn't to be dicks, it was to make it look like that.
Yeah,
it was to make that.
Because national acts and all that weren't doing that. They weren't coming out and hanging out and stuff. They were doing that too. That lent to, wow, what's going on with these guys? What's going on behind the scenes, you know?
It was all part of the plan.
Yeah. and it was so cool. It was like so well sought out. It was like you were making a movie and you had.
We tried to think of all the details, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then we did it with a band that was so tight. I'll tell you, honest to God, I remember playing the Ritz one time, and we're just going along and banging through our set, and the power goes out. So me and Mark walk the talk, and everybody in the crowd standing there, place is fucking packed, and there's like no power. Everybody's running around trying to get everything going back on. So me and Mark walk and stand in front of trucks, kick drum, and go, all right, where were we? And it's like, all right, we're the 2 lines before the second chorus. And when the power came back on, we'd start the song in the exact same spot that the song was at when the power went off. That's how tight our band is, bro. Do that. You know, that's like Mental Link or something. And we would just dive right back into the song where the power went off. And I was so proud of shit like that because that's playing the game at a different level.
Yes.
That's thinking at a different level, you know?
Absolutely. Because most bands would be like standing there going, should we start the song over? Should we go to the next?
No, yeah, start it. Let's go now, you know?
Yeah.
No, you make it seem like nothing fucking happened.
Yeah, you didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. Nope, not at all. Proud of it. I'll remember that.
When you made your first album, how long did you have? Like we talked earlier, you had Love to Hate and Starlight, Starbright, a few songs in the back, or you know, you officially started the let's call it the Chuck phase. How long did it take you to write the rest of the material on that album before you actually went to the studio?
I couldn't even really answer exactly. It was just stuff that we were putting together, and those were the best songs of the stuff that we were putting together. We really didn't know what to do. It's not like we were going to get signed, but like at that point in time on a parallel track, you saw the whole Clutch Cargos thing coming up, and a lot of those bands were releasing their own records. And I'm like, well, just because all these rock bands aren't releasing their own records, or they might happen to have a record deal, there's nothing that could stop, nothing that should stop us from releasing our own.
Yeah.
Right? Book 20 more shows to pay for that. You know what I mean? Go in recording. oh, 3 hours on Tuesday and 1 hour on Friday or whatever. I mean, just it wasn't
Yeah.
even like we sat down and did it. It was totally piecemeal and thrown together, and whatever. I think with a pretty close result of what the band sounded like at that point.
Oh, absolutely. No. So were some of these songs more or less written on the fly in the studio, or were you
No, that was
teasing?
all stuff that we were doing at that point in time out.
Okay, so you were playing them out at the time, kind of
Yep.
testing the field, that kind of stuff.
Those were the best ones out of everything that we were out doing. I believe, I think pretty
Right.
much, yeah. And then we put a couple of live tracks on there too, just because I think there was a Sabbath bootleg where they did that, and I thought it was really cool that they put live tracks on with studio tracks. Let's do that. No reason. No, we're just no reason, dude. Do it. Some stuff we put a lot of thought into. Other stuff that came really quickly, and we just did it. You know what I mean?
But it worked, and it was so killer, because I remember having that cassette, man, wearing it out. I got it at Rock of Ages. I'm like, holy shit. And I'd play that motherfucker over and over and over in my car. We'd be on a Heinz Park party and just listen to that thing, and the starting, it was just, everybody dug it. I understand, though, and I don't know if this is true necessarily or what, that you guys weren't really happy with the result of the album initially, that it needed to be resalvaged. What was it that you weren't happy about it? Was it the sound, the production?
The first record or the second record?
First one.
First one was fine by me. I know a bunch of people have remixed it and messed with it and done a bunch of stuff to it since it came out.
Right.
But I really wasn't looking for a lot, just a fair representation of the band. It didn't cost me that much to do it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's said right on the record, right in the notes down there, recorded here and salvaged here.
That rings a bell. At that point in time, now it's not just 3 people involved in it anymore. Now there's more people involved in it. You know what I mean? And the more people that get involved in it, the more stuff changes. You know what I mean? I can't really remember why that was, but what you say sounds familiar. I can't remember why, though.
Then, of course, you guys venture into doing a video, and you picked a song that I think was perfect for the time because of the scene coming up, the whole Headbangers, the whole scene with metal and all that. Yet, like I said, I never really considered you guys metal. Headbangers, and you do a video for that. Was that done purposely because of that? How did you decide on that song to do that video?
Probably because at that point in time, with everything that was going on, that was our most blasting song. Mm-hmm. So it's like, we're just going to give them our most blasting one. I don't even remember doing it. I'm not sure who did the video. Was it a Wheels video or something?
Yeah, it ended up on the beat. Yeah, it was on the beat.
Yeah, the beat. Okay, yeah, the beat.
You guys were on the beat with Podell and all
I was
that.
on the beat.
Yeah.
We were on the beat. Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
You don't remember that?
No, I remember being on it. Yeah, I just don't remember exactly what we did. I remember being, yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah, it was so funny because Mark was talking about it, about how it was filmed, and you guys just had a lot of the crew and their friends and their friends.
Trying so hard to get them fuckers to like us, all of them. They just hated us. They just hated us, dude.
Who hated
then it's
you?
got to all the people from Riff and Wheels and stuff, and then it got to the point where it's like, honestly, man, like our crowds were getting so big you can't ignore us anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, and then the next thing WLZ presents Seduce. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah, because you guys have been on 2 of the Wheels albums.
But we just begged for attention for those guys for the longest time, and we just couldn't get it. Yeah, and I think the beat was our first foray.
Yeah, because
relationship with all of them people.
Yeah, because Podell, pushed it and all that. As far as putting it on that album with you and Halloween and Scarlet and all that on that one.
I'll still bump into Podell from time to time, and I just smile. I mean, because he still works there and he's still doing it and stuff. To me, it's a memory, bro. You know what I mean? So that's 2 different things.
You trying to say you didn't have the cozy relationship with him that so many other bands, they all call him the Doc of Rock, and that he's the savior of local rock, has been forever.
Well, yeah, and just all the other bands that they were promoting at the time, it was like that was like old news shit, and we're talking about like Kerrang band, you know what I mean? So it's like, nah, this is the new shit, people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, if you're not gonna help us, we'll do it on our own.
Yeah, and you definitely did. Now, speaking of going on to the next level or attempting to, you guys pursued a record deal and you decided on IRS Records to release your second album. and that to me, especially like I said, working in the Harmony House and knowing the bands that they were handling at the time, and being told, oh yeah, they want to try this metal division, and they were going to sign Seduce and a couple other Midwest bands. But I guess there was a lot of problems with that, as far as that they took you out there, and you guys, from what I understand, from both Chuck and Mark, you were like guinea pigs for some new studio they were trying to promote. Do you have memories of that?
I do. I think something else comes into play at that point in time. If you want me to expand on it, I
Sure,
will.
absolutely.
All right, dude, you look at all these other bands that come out, and what would have been essential for Seduce at that point in time was to have the guy come on. Who's Def Leppard's guy?
Mutt Lang?
Mutt Lang.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Motley Crue's guy? Tom Werman.
Yeah.
Who's Nirvana's guy? Fick. You can go down the list of all these people that right when they got to that point, some guy came on and could clap his hands loud enough that you could make three wild 20-somethings all look in the same direction and say, okay, this is how you make records and this is how you do this. Mm-hmm. And we never had that. We had people that wanted to help us, and I appreciate their help, but it never really got us to the point where we needed to be. We needed that person that was all this shit, all these musical influences and all this talent, all these ideas and styles and stuff that we got swirling around. We needed someone to corral all that, and we never had it. And when I listen to those records now, to me they sound like they're kind of all over the place, because we were all over the place. And if we would have had someone who could have really put the band on the narrow, I think that could have probably put us into a different place. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think in a sense, well, you were there, so you would know. But in a sense, the first album is a lot more concise as far as production and power of what Seduce was, in my mind, with so many people.
It was just us doing it.
Yeah.
We produced it.
Yeah.
And then
the
different
second
people.
Album, different people. There again, I think the songs on the second album are great songs, are just really strong songs. I just think the production wasn't as heavy. It was like, it was like, I don't want to say watered down, but just not at the same level.
Dude, you're trying to make a rough sounding band sound contemporary.
Right.
Pull drums and shit like that.
Yeah.
No, well, and everybody thought, oh, that's great at the time. Oh, listen how big that snare drum sounds, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And they listen back to it, and it's like, well, yeah, no, not really, man. And I know we paid 10 times more than we did to do the second record than we did the first. And I know which one sounds better to me.
Yeah, exactly, because that was what Chuck was
All
saying.
due respect to IRS records.
Sure. Well, I don't think they really knew what they were doing as far as like you said, what kind of producer, what producer should we get into? Because, like these other guys that like would have produced Guns N' Roses or Metallica, Bob Rock, somebody like that, if they would have come in with you guys.
And let me rewind it again.
Yeah.
You got three guys here who never anticipated anything like this ever happening. We weren't planning for that. We planned to put a good band together. We planned to play great shows. We planned how to put together big crowds. But we never planned on how we were going to deal with getting a record deal, because that never happens to anybody. You know what I mean? So then once it did, then it's like, wow. And then at that point, you're trying to just like decide what everybody's saying to you and what is going on, and you're trying to really figure it out. And now you're not even living in that same world, which was the fun world that we're talking about, like band houses and you know what I mean? That's two whole different fucking things right there.
Yeah. So was it, in a sense, a little bit too more business-like than the actual core of what you had intended? Because not every band wants to get signed, but there's that dream of success. In other words, reaching as many people with your music as possible.
My thing was being in magazines. I grew up reading Circus and Circus Raves and Cream. And when I first started to see us in magazines, it blew me away.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in magazines. They don't make magazines anymore.
No, they don't. And radio's so corporate.
I thought that was a big fucking deal to be in a magazine.
Yeah.
I want to be in a fucking magazine, man.
Or to even be on the radio, like you say, man. And you had some great radio in this town. You had ABX, you had W4, you had Riff when it was cool. You had Wheels when it was cool and stuff. And everything went so corporate that, they couldn't play any local rock. Yet they're all out there promoting these bands, at these shows saying they are, but they can't play it on the radio. It's like, I know you guys got a little airplay because of the beat with them, and Halloween got played in Trick or Treat, but got played once a year at
They would have the little
Halloween.
metal show
Yeah,
going or
yeah,
something or
this
whatever.
kind of stuff. But they weren't really trying to promote local rock. They were being told what to promote. It was national stuff because it was obviously I knew about this from being working in the record business a little bit at my level. There was a lot of payola going on, and unless you had a lot of money to pay
Everything
these,
going on,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, sad.
Rewind again, and dude, you're talking to a guy who grew up in Malt Lake, trying to deal with all this shit.
Yeah.
All of us trying to deal with it amongst ourselves and trying to hold it all together and keep it all together. Because the more complicated it got on those levels, the harder it gets. The
Yes.
game doesn't get easier; it gets harder.
Who were some of the national acts you remember opening for? 'Cause I know you guys, played around and stuff, not just here, but who are some of the big groups that you guys opened for?
Geez, the bulk of the stuff that I remember was when the wave of heavy metal was coming over. We played with a lot of those bands at Harpo's the
Right.
first time around. Girl School, Accept, Saxon, all those bands, like the B metal bands, or like when those bands were coming over on their first record, Crocus, all those
Yeah.
kind of bands, because that was the venue for that kind of music.
Didn't you play with Judas Priest or something once, too?
We were supposed to, but we got bumped from the bill. Broke my heart. I thought we were going to be the first local band to play Joe Louis. It didn't happen.
And why do you think you got bumped? Were they somebody better, or they wanted another
They called me the morning of the show and said the stage manager said there's not enough stage
Really?
room on stage. Yep. Oh yeah, dude. No, it was great, dude. So I fucking jumped in my fucking car, grabbed Brandy King, our biggest fucking crew guy, and I had a green '66 GTO, and I fucking got in that car and made it down to Cobo in about 10 minutes from the band house.
Yeah.
Come screaming up to the back, and I didn't stop yelling till we got paid. They paid us. Then I went to the Sweetwater Tavern and drank a fucking pitcher of gin and tonic.
Hey, nothing wrong with that either, man. Nothing.
Yeah, that was an awful day, dude, because I woke
Oh,
up thinking,
God.
I went to bed thinking this isn't going to happen. And I listened to a Rob Halford interview. He's like, oh, I hear we're playing with some fucking band. And they're talking about us on the radio. And I'm like, this is never going to happen. And I wake up and I'm like up for an hour and you get the phone call that it's not. I was really a big Priest fan back in
Yeah.
the day, too. No one got to do shows like that at that point. That would have been a Super Bowl win for the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
that would have been something really spectacular.
The last thing I wanted to bring by, like I said, the last show I saw with you guys was in 2019 at the Token.
Okay.
And I'd obviously seen you before that and several shows. But what sticks out in my mind about that show was you guys were some new original material. You weren't just pulling out some old, original material that you, had kind of put shelves on or whatever.
Marky brought up a song, and we worked up a song of Marky's.
And there was talk, at least, that within a year, 2 years, or whatever, you'd have a new album out. Now, I know the next year, being 2020, the pandemic hits, that shuts everything down, and nothing can really
Sure.
run. But what happened with that? I mean, did you guys just can't find the time to get together to finish it? Because I know a lot of people, and I'm not sure if you go onto Facebook much or are aware.
Really, bro? No.
Okay, that makes sense
No.
because there's a Seduce worldwide fan page. Worldwide.
Jesus Christ, dude, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and these
Get the
people
fuck
got.
out of here, dude.
I'm serious. And Mark knows about it. Chuck knows about it. Matter of fact, Mark commented on certain things.
Seduce worldwide.
Yeah,
That sounds
worldwide,
great, dude.
man. And there's all these people that bring up all these stories, Seduce pictures, they put videos on there. They reminisce about shows and about this and that. And, a lot of people have been talking about, yeah, the band teased us with some new material, said it was going to come out, in a couple of years. It was actually at the time a year, but then, like I say, the
Yeah, no,
pandemic
there was
hit.
some talk about doing it, but it never happened.
Is there any chance that would happen? Because I know that some of
I'm
the
always up
material-
for a good game of guitar, bro. You know what I mean? Like I say, that's what I do. I still play every fucking day, dude. I'm probably playing better now than I ever have.
Some of
Even
the
though I'm
stuff-
old now.
Yeah, well, we're all old now. That shouldn't matter. Jim McCarty from the Rockets, he's, 78 years old, God bless him, and he's still out playing. A lot of people are. You keep your chops going, you can do it.
I agree.
As far as that, and Mark has said the same thing, and I'm sure you're going to say the same thing. Is there any hope as far as you guys, have you guys talked at all within, the last year about,
Not about doing nothing like that, but hope springs eternal, as they say, right? Yeah, no, I don't, yeah, I really couldn't say anything.
Mark's like, yeah, I'd be up to it. It comes down to what Chuck and David want to do. And Chuck's like, well, I don't know. Comes down to what Mark wants to do because he's in Tennessee.
I live in Nashville, bro, so it's like, I know he's got a lot going down there. And
Yeah,
it's a
but
real exciting place, and he's got his own shit he's got going. I'm really
yeah,
happy for him,
right,
and it's just like,
obviously.
I just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of the hitch right there.
Yeah, but he had said, and you can listen to this in the interview, he would make the flight in a minute, come down here to rehearse with you and Chuck's place and play a gig. He would do it.
Play a gig or make a record? What are
No,
we
a
talking
gig.
about?
Just play a gig. I know the record thing, whatever. But to play a gig, like a Token again or Harpo's or something. Because you guys haven't played here in
Oh
quite a
no,
while.
we've talked about that. Yeah, no, we've talked about that. I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about us talking amongst ourselves about making another record.
No,
You know
no, I'm
what I mean?
talking about.
That's how.
So that's what I'm saying. Has that been brought up recently at all?
Oh yeah, we talk about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just whenever it happens to happen.
Well, David, I'm going to let you go. Again, thank you so much for
My pleasure.
talking to me, taking the time to do this. It's long overdue. Like I said, anybody that has heard my show and heard the interviews with Mark and Chuck and Mickey and all that, the biggest thing I heard from everybody, where's David? Why haven't you talked to David? You got to talk to David. I'm like going, I'm working on it.
David just lives a little life now. He
That's
keeps it real
okay.
low, real small.
I'm just really happy that I was able to get together with you.
Nah, that's cool. Cut all the stupid shit I said out, okay?
Believe me, you didn't say anything stupid, man, at all. So, but yeah, you are still beloved in this town as a guitar hero and
I
legend.
appreciate that, man. Thank
Very
you.
much.
I carry it in my heart, bro. I love playing guitar. I always will.
Great, and you should. Well, anyway, David, again, thank you so much. And, buddy, you have a good night, and hopefully we'll talk and maybe meet down the line somewhere.
I'll see you at the Token next time. How about
Yes, absolutely.
that? All right, dude. Have a great night. Thank
You too, brother.
I appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay, man.
Thank you.
God bless. Later.
Bye-bye. Well, that was David Black. What a cool guy. I'm just, like I said, I'm speechless as to the fact that he would actually take the time and do this. And he's such a legend in this town as far as guitar. The band is quite, is legendary in itself. But, the core of the band, Mark and David and all the rest, that just brought this band full circle to fruition. It's just miraculous, like you said. Some of the stuff they did will probably never be able to be done again at a local level for what they did. There'll be some hit and miss bands, obviously. There's still some great talent this town, don't get me wrong, but that was such a time, in rock and roll at a local level as far as hard rock in this town, that I think they will always stand the time as being, the cornerstone of that type of music in that whole scene. Anyway, with that said, if you're digging these interviews, and I hope you are, as like I said in the past, and you want to hear more, hit the like button. Leave a comment about this interview. Tell me somebody you might want to hear in the future. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it just shows me there's, continuing interest in this. Anyway, with that being said, as I always say, keep rocking.